I'm going to go ahead and record. That way, Joel, if you need to look back through any of these materials, you can do so. And we can post it to our YouTube channel so anyone else is able to access it at any time in the future if they could not join us today. So let's see. Can anybody see? I've got presenter screen open. Does it say recording?
Yes.
I think so. Perfect. Thank you, Alicia. All right. So for those of you who it has been a while since we have seen each other, and you don't want to call me the email lady, my name is Michelle Shanks, and I am currently running all of the information and programming for LLP and Gateway Scholars right now, since Nong is not with us anymore this semester. And helping me out today, if you would like to introduce yourself, Miss Alicia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia. I'm one of the other Longhorn Link advisors, and I work with the first year students.
Yes. So today we are meeting to talk about career fairs, or what many people have talked about as career expos, maybe job fairs, and basically, these are opportunities that you have to show up and meet a bunch of employers at one time to try and locate employment or maybe an internship in the future. So what I'm going to be talking to you about today is about in-person and virtual career fairs. And Alicia is going to interject as much as she likes to add in information, because while this is a specialty of mine, she is also very well versed in this subject. She's going to be helping us out today. Okay. So basically, what all do you need to know about attending a career fair or applying for a job or internship right now? The topics that we're going to cover: I'm going to show you the spring 2021 UT career fair schedule, since not a lot of students know how to find this. We're going to talk about why you would attend a career fair, what to prepare beforehand, what to expect the day of, what to do after the event. I'm going to share with you some helpful resources that maybe we don't have time to cover today. And of course, a lot of do's and don'ts throughout based upon people's epic fails from the past. Maybe I will admit which ones are actually mine and which ones are just people that I know or great internet stories that I found. But this is very informal. So while there's a PowerPoint, feel free to stop us at any time and ask questions that you may have. Because there's a small group here today, we can give you a lot more individualized attention. So feel free to interrupt. I'm not going to get upset because this is all for you. Okay, so spring 2021 career fairs are located at the link that is on the screen. And if you are a note taker, I created this presentation so that you don't actually have to take notes. And as long as you put your email address in the sign in, I will send this entire presentation to you so that you don't have to write down any notes. But this website actually talks about all the career fairs that are open. And if you'll notice in the red arrows, all of the career fairs this year are taking place virtually. So we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between virtual and in-person career fairs, but there aren't too many differences between the two as far as what you want to prepare, but there are a couple of differences. If you look on the left-hand side of the graphic, it tells you the title of the career fair. And then as we move to the right in the image, it is all in the virtual platform, but they might be a different virtual platform. So it gives you that information. It lets you know if it is open to all UT students or certain colleges only. It lets you know the date and times for this fair, the contact person, and they actually have their own websites for students and employers so that you're not being overwhelmed with information that doesn't apply to you. Alicia, while I flip to the next slide, you talked to me earlier about certain websites having a lot of really useful information for all students. What were those?
Yes. So those websites included, I think, in my opinion, CNS, College of Natural Sciences, had the most in-depth website where it was talking about what you need to prepare, what it's going to look like actually the day of, and using the platform Handshake, and how to set up your account, how employers can interact with your profile, and all of those things. So I would go there just to get an idea of what that's going to look like. Because if you go on websites like McCombs or engineering, unless you have a specific login with that college, you can't get all of those details. So I unfortunately wasn't able to see that. But the College of Education and CNS had pretty great descriptions.
All right. And I've linked to the College of Natural Sciences in the resources section so that you don't have to hunt that information down later. Now, I put a quote on the screen. Something that's really important to remember as you go into this process is that someone somewhere is always looking for exactly what you have to offer. The thing that most people can't really wrap their brain around is that that's not always going to be the first person that you meet. I applied for lots of jobs before I landed this role with LCAE. And every time I met with people, I would let them know basics of who I was and my career background. And I wasn't chosen. And I couldn't figure out why that was. And I started to take it personally. And then I came in and I interviewed with LCAE, and every single one of my skill sets was exactly what they were looking for. They were looking for someone organized. They were looking for someone who was good at creating systems from scratch. They were looking at people who have worked in the classroom with students. And for a long time, I was upset that I didn't get the first couple of jobs that I applied for, but I feel like I ended up getting the one that was best suited for me and my skill set. Some of you, when you go to a career fair, are gonna get offered a job by the first person you talk to. And some of you, it might take you a little bit of time to get a job offer, but it's always been my belief that things end up working out in ways that you can't really see at the time. So the best thing to do is just to always be yourself, because you want to get picked for who you are and what you bring to the table, not be picked because of someone that you are pretending to be. So why should you attend a career fair? It's time, it's effort. There's a lot of people crammed into one space. It can be stressful. Reasons to go to a career fair. You can network with many employers at one time instead of having to travel to each location to meet with them individually. You can meet with employers who are definitely looking to hire you as opposed to employers that are not looking to hire anyone at the time. You can make impressions that can lead to interviews. And, oh, I had a typo. Numerous quick interactions can help build your confidence. The more people you meet with, the less your nerves are going to take over. With the exception of my recent transition and work with LCAE, every single job I got offered in the past was because of a connection that I made at a career fair that ended up getting me an interview and being offered a job that I wanted. So that's important for people to know, that it's not just something that fills time, it really can lead to you getting employed. So how should you approach the process? Like I said before, it's really important to clearly represent yourself. Show the potential employers who you are and what you would bring to their team. Sometimes that requires a lot of thinking on your part and figuring out what your skills are. Preparation in career fairs is key. Making strategic choices on your overall packaging, your appearance that day, the materials you bring with you, and practicing for interviews before you get them. And then lastly, you should always have patience and be willing to pump yourself up. You might not be everyone's first choice, but you have no idea how many interviews you were the second choice in, or you were really, really close at getting offered an opportunity of employment. So take each attempt, every single small conversation that you have at a career fair or an interview, as an opportunity to continue building your skills and get more confident in your interview abilities.
Real quick, I had a question.
Yeah.
Um, so when it comes down to it, when like meeting them, um, I'm gonna have to change my. Am I gonna have to change my appearance? Like, am I gonna have to like redye my hair to a natural color? And then since I have a tattoo, and I also have piercings. For like girls, it's not like it's normal for girls to have piercings, but for guys, it's not. It's typically not seen. And then I have my ears double pierced too. So like for career, like the upcoming careers expo, would it be safer to dye my hair back to like a natural color and then like take out my piercings? Or
Well, I would say it really depends on the career field you're in and the type of employment you are seeking. So, when most people go to a job fair, they already have an idea of what companies they want to work for, who are going to be there. We're going to talk about how you choose that in advance before you show up. So you might have an idea of how professional the dress is for the employers that you want to meet with. So if I know that I want to work at UT and I have dyed hair and piercings and tattoos, I might look up that employer's dress code on their website and see what is allowed. Um, like I said before, it's it's one of those things that I don't know. I feel like if you are a fine arts student, that would be celebrated. I feel like if you're going into a law school interview, that might be something that makes you stand out for good reasons. It might make you stand out for bad reasons, depending on the particular interviewer and what they're looking for. But most places will give you a dress code or a suggestion of a dress code. Generally, that is your clothing. I've never dyed my hair or covered anything about my physical appearance at a job fair. And I've seen tons of people with tattoos, fun colors of hair, very unique outward representations of their personality. I would say for the job fair, look at what their dress code is. If you're trying to get certain jobs with certain employers who are there, look at what their dress code expectations are and make the best decision for yourself considering those two things. What do you think, Alicia?
Yes. Also, I apologize for my dog barking in the background. But yeah, I agree with depending on what field you're in. Like I was in fine arts and I used to have gauges. I have tattoos. I don't look like a typical feminine woman. So those were all things I was really self-conscious of. And I think halfway through my undergraduate career, I started being more mindful of that. And I got rid of my gauges. I started dressing more presentable because I knew I wanted to be in educational spaces and I needed to change my appearance a bit. But ultimately, it is up to you and what you think is going to work for the type of field and company you're going to be with.
Mhm.
My other opinion, personal opinion, is do you want to be with a company that's going to control how you express yourself, or do you want to be somewhere where they're going to embrace you? So I think those are other things to consider too.
Okay, because I want to go into auditing like that, like because I want to major in accounting and I want to go into auditing, or I don't know, but I know like I want to major in accounting, and then well I'm a business major, and so I think about that, and I've asked like some people, even my nails are painted right now, um, and that's where I get kind of like hesitant because I'm like yes, like I should be able to represent myself and the company that I'm with should be okay with that. Like that shouldn't matter when like deciding if I'm like a valuable person to be working with, like with, like to have on the team. But because of how certain people are, they're not fans of having dyed hair, having your nails painted, having a tattoo, having your ears pierced. And so I know because of the field that I do want to go into, like it's very formal, but then it comes down to again like um well don't you want to be in a place where you're properly respected for being yourself? And Ugh, okay, that's something I'm gonna have to mull over later on as the expos get a little closer.
Yeah. Now, the questions that you are asking are all about style. Like, I think the thing that you want to pay the most close attention to is taste. Okay. Like, you don't want to go in showing a lot of skin for a business job fair. You do not want to go in a crushed velvet suit with a cane. Um, you do not want to be a gimmick. And I think the things that you're mentioning are not gimmicky and have nothing to do with taste or disrespecting an institution as a whole. But again, the best things to do is to look at the employers who are there and to really do your research or do your homework. And that's going to give you a good idea about what adjustments you should make. Great thing about an earring is that you can take it out. Great thing about job fairs is most encourage you to wear long sleeve dress shirts or blazers so you can cover that up. Nobody can force you to get a tattoo removed once they hire you. So you're okay. So most of those things that you're mentioning, except for the dyed hair, you can remove and then put back on afterwards.
Okay, so it's just like, yeah, let's stuff out. Side note, I know this is going into this is completely off topic, but do you know it? Okay, maybe actually I'll save this for afterwards. I'll save this for afterwards because this is being recorded too.
Okay. All right.
Can-
Perfect. Okay. So what you should prepare in advance. The majority of the work that you do should be before you show up to a career fair. And most students don't. And that is where they make a bad first impression. Things I'm going to talk about are appearance, materials, online presence, and registration and research, and what's called an elevator speech or an elevator pitch, as you may have heard it called before. I gave you some bullet points, but I'm going to talk about all those on the next couple of slides. But this is for you later if you just want to take one screenshot of something. This would be a good thing to hold on to. And remember, I'll send this to you after it's over. Okay, appearance. Wear something that you're comfortable in, that you're not going to fidget with. You want to wear your outfit before you wear it the day of so that you don't fidget with your clothes. Also, do not chew gum. It looks unprofessional. Speaking of professional, this is a list of things that are considered professional. You'll notice down at the bottom, Hoel, that avoiding revealing shapes and loud patterns are probably not the best idea. Making sure that your hair is combed and that your hygiene is good, but in no way is that saying change your physical appearance outside of being clean. Suggestions for personal items. You're going to get a lot of materials, so make sure you bring a bag or a briefcase with you that matches your attire. Don't bring a Hello Kitty backpack with you to a career fair. It's cute, but that's probably not appropriate. If you're traveling, think about wearing different clothes while traveling to the career fair so that you don't mess up your clothes on the way there with the Starbucks spill. And then lastly, if you are worried about attending a career fair because you do not have clothing or funding for clothing to attend, I've listed 2 websites in Austin who entirely function to help provide clothing for job getting opportunities. And so definitely look into those. Okay, materials to bring with you. Resumes and CVs are very important. They summarize your education, your job experiences, your skills, your trainings, notorieties, anything that you've gotten awards for, if you've been published, anything that makes you stand out as being exceptional. Resumes are more common and they give key facts of your career. CVs are longer, more detailed documentation of your entire career. Academics tend to use CVs, whereas most everyone else uses a resume. Resumes are suggested to be 1 page or a 1-page front and back maximum. It's a great idea to keep a list of every single job and every single skill that you've had on your computer and just copy and paste relevant skills from that resume into the one for each career fair or interview or job application you are working on. If you are going in person, it's really smart to bring 3 copies for every single employer you plan to meet, because people sit at tables where there are several representatives from an employment agency or from an employer. And so if you have at least 3 per person you want to meet with, you'll have enough resumes on hand to pass out while you are there. Because you're going to be in a virtual environment, you're going to want to make sure that you have saved copies of your resume that you can send to your prospective employers. And you can also upload your resume into Handshake, which is what all of the virtual career fairs are using for this spring at UT. Let's see. I put some links for more information on resumes and CVs. We just did a workshop about it, and there's some great resources to help you with formatting on the bottom of this screen. Yeah, bring something to take notes with, bring business cards if you have them, bring a refillable water bottle, because often they don't have places for you to get food while you are at career fairs. Okay, online presence. Okay, LinkedIn is something that you might be familiar with. It's also known as old people's social media. It's a professional website that you can look for job postings, applications. There are paid and free accounts. And a lot of people use this social network or this networking site as just their career. And so it's very easy to share this information with employers instead of sharing your regular social media accounts. Speaking of which, your social media accounts should all be made private before you go to a career fair, because people will look you up and try to Google you on the internet. Some people like to create websites or online portfolios that expand upon their resume. You can also create those before you show up to give yourself a opportunity to show like more product driven work to your employers. So say that you're in graphic design, you can show a lot of things that you have made by having an online portfolio. Okay, the main job fairs that UT is offering require you to register before you attend. You have to register on Hire U Texas, which is something that everyone has probably promoted to you at some point during your time here at UT. It's the professional networking and career fair site. It's free to UT students. You have to have an account to this to access the career fairs. Like I said, you can upload your information and create a profile. You can look at job postings, applications, and interviews, but you have to create your privacy settings to allow, hold on, I'm trying to think of how they were phrased. Okay, so there's a setting for employers, there's a setting for community, and there is a setting for private. You cannot have your privacy settings set to private and attend these career fairs and meet with employers. It blocks you from doing that. So just make sure that you choose a setting that will allow you into the career fair. Handshake is actually the platform that's hosting the career fairs. You also have to create a profile here too. And this profile is even more important. It allows you to select job interests, locations you're interested in working, and a whole bunch of other things that will help employers decide whether or not you are a good fit for them or not. Whenever you go to these virtual career fairs, you have to register as soon as possible because it guarantees you a spot and they only let so many people come. But then you also have to set up appointments with employers because they can't see everyone all at the same time. So you've got to set up all of your appointments with the employers. And there are 2 different types of appointments that you can set. There is a one-on-one session, which lasts about 10 minutes. It lets you talk one-on-one with an employer. And then there are group sessions, which are about 30 minutes long. And that's where they'll meet with several potential employees all at the same time. These appointments are first come, first serve, and they will add employers all the way up until the day of the event. So sign up early, but then continually check and see if anybody else has been added that you are interested in. The employers who are there are looking for people to work. It eliminates a lot of your work for you. So make sure that you go in and add those appointments into your calendar so that you don't miss any of those appointments with them. These employers have to pay anywhere from $75 to $500 to attend these career fairs to look for talent. So a lot of people think, oh, it's not worth it. They have to actually pay in order to come and recruit UT students. So that's why those employers are added all the way up until the day of the event. So definitely check back. Okay, research, doing your homework. You need to constantly look at the employers who are going to be there. Are they worth meeting with? And how do you market yourself to them? This is a little bit about what you were asking. How do I market myself to these people? What do I change about myself? Doing your research and doing your homework will allow you to know how to best approach each employer. Okay, in a job fair, look at the companies attending the fair, research them where they're located. If they are located in Colorado and you are not willing to move, mark them off the list and don't waste your time interviewing with them. If they are a company that donates to causes that you do not agree with, and that's very important to you, mark them off of your list and don't waste your time. It seems like an 8-hour job fair is a lot of time to get a lot done. It's not. So this will help you eliminate people you're not interested in and really come up with a list of companies that you want to visit and set up appointments with at the fair. Let's see. If you are in person, locate a job fair map. There will be hundreds of employers at tables all throughout a conference center. And it's really complicated to find each one. So finding that map ahead of time and mapping out your route is going to allow you to see a lot more employers. Some other things you can research: how often are they rehiring for these positions that they have available? Is there a lot of turnover? While you're doing your research, you can also come up with a list of questions based upon what you find on their websites. And if it's in person, arrive early to avoid, avoid standing in long lines to meet with employers. If the lines are really long, you could waste an hour or two just trying to meet with one employer. So move on to the next employer on your list and come back. Y'all are lucky because y'all get virtual ones. You just have to be at your computer and click on the link at the right time. It's going to be so amazing for you. You don't have to stand. You don't have to small talk with crazies who are stuck in line with you. Okay, you don't have to get overwhelmed by all of the noise and everything that's going on. So enjoy these virtual interview fairs while they last. Let's see. If you're to the point where you're interviewing, okay, if you are interviewing with a company, you want to do a lot of research about them. Look at their vision and mission statements and their organizational charts to see how the business is structured. Look into articles that were written about the company by outsiders, because they might say that they're amazing, and then you do a little bit of research and you find out that they're actually in massive trouble with the government and they are about to close down. Study the biographies of who's interviewing you so that you don't say something inappropriate to someone that's in the room, and you can actually use their biography knowledge to help you know what to talk to them about and what doors to open. If you know that Alicia is really passionate about Black and Brown students studying abroad, and your background is in studying abroad, that would be a great thing to connect. in your interview with her. Let's see, the rest was all copied and pasted, but the research is so important and it does take up time, but it is worth every minute of it that you do. Okay, elevator speeches. This is difficult, especially if you are a communicator. Alicia will tell you Michelle likes to talk and Alicia likes to get to the point. And if you can see her face right now, she's laughing. Okay. When you meet in those one-on-one 10-minute sessions with people at a career fair in the spring, okay, 10 minutes is not a lot of time. It is very easy to ramble on for a really long time. So what happens is we have students prepare a 2-minute elevator speech. It is a quick, prepared, and focused summary of yourself to give potential employers and new colleagues like everything they need to know about you in less than the amount of time it would take to get on and off an elevator. So 2 minutes. Hi, I'm Michelle. This is my background. This is what I do. You can use this, yes, on elevators, before and after meetings, in job interviews, and anytime someone asks you to tell me about yourself, which is a question you're going to get in every single interview and every single career fair that you attend. Basics to cover in it: a greeting. You don't want to jump into yourself that you forget to introduce yourself to the person that is there. And that happens more times than you would think. Okay, so you want to say, hi, I'm so-and-so. What's your name? It's so nice to meet you. Tell them who you are. Tell them what you do. What are you looking for? Are you looking for a role in sports game design? That's important to tell a company that does all different types of game designs. What are you interested in? Why are you qualified? And what can you offer that other people cannot? Okay, now that seems easy to write, but if you ask someone to talk about themselves and it's not prepared, it just becomes a jumbly mess. So what I did was I found some examples on the internet. And so I'm going to give you 2 to look at, and I'll read them out loud in case you are driving, because I don't know if Joshua's driving too. But here are 2 examples of elevator speeches. So what I want you to think is, which one best showcases this student to potential employers? Number 1 or number 2? Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm a recent graduate from UT, hoping to get a job in public relations or a related field. I had a very high GPA, got great feedback from my internship, and was active in many student organizations on campus, specifically making all their posters and promotional items for them. I'm hoping to stay in the Austin area following graduation. Do you have any job openings at this time? Okay. Did that cover all the things that were on my previous screen? Yeah, sort of. Now look at option number 2. Hi, my name is Sarah. It's so nice to meet you. I'm a PR manager specializing in overseeing successful initiative launches from beginning to end. Along with my several years of professional experience developing marketing and promotional content for numerous organizations, I recently received my MBA with a focus on consumer trust and retention. I find the work your PR team does to be innovating and refreshing. I'd love the opportunity to put my expertise to work for your company. If you anticipate any such opportunities in the future, I'd love to leave you with my resume and contact information. Which one's better?
The second one.
Yeah. So coming up, and just the first one is an example of someone just rambling and saying some stuff. The second one lets you know, yes, I'm a student, but I've done all of these different things. These are what my skill sets are. And at the end, it basically asks for something. They say, I'd love to work for your company because of blank. if you see anything that comes up, I'd love to give you my stuff. And then it gives you a reason to hand them your materials, as opposed to Sarah number one, who would be like, do you have any job openings? And randomly holding out a resume awkwardly for a little while. Okay, so coming up with a good elevator speech is really, really important. You also want to practice it, but you don't want to practice it so much that you sound like a robot. Okay, so it doesn't have to be memorized, just bullet point it. Okay, some bad things to do is to speak too fast and to not speak clearly. So speak naturally and slowly. Those are very, very important. Okay, you want to make the conversation or the interaction feel like a conversation. If you are doing all the talking, that can be a problem. So if the person stops and interrupts you or asks you a question, talk with them back and forth and make it into a conversation. Okay, and most importantly, okay, you need to be confident. Make eye contact, stand up straight, smile and speak loudly and clearly. Okay, interact with people while waiting in line. All of these are good things to do, but whatever you do, don't wing it. Don't lie on your resume, because people will ask you about it and then you will be stuck. And don't trash talk former bosses, the place you're currently working. Don't trash talk where you went to school or anything that's happening at the job fair at the moment. A lot of people will get nervous, and nervous energy a lot of the time will result in saying negative things. You do not want your first impression to be that you're a whiner. And you could have an incident that I had one time where I was really, really rude to someone, and then they ended up in a job interview with me later on. And so you just always want to think about those things. You never really know if you're trash talking a boss who's worked with Tiffany Lewis before. Okay, do they love her? Are they best friends? Are they sisters? One time I was sitting at a theater next to my boss's sister, and we found this out just from the shirt I was wearing. Like, so you really want to make sure that you're being positive the entire time that you are there. Okay, what to expect the day of. It's going to be it's going to be cramped. Parking is going to be crazy. So you want to wear shoes that you can move in. Okay, there's going to not be a lot of places to get food, drink. Everything's going to be loud. Wi-Fi is going to be terrible. There are a lot of tables that give out free swag. Okay, the swag, it might be cups with their business name on it. It might be a cool little highlighter thing that you think's neat, or a phone charger. Generally, all of that swag will weigh you down throughout the day. And many tables will have long lines just because they have cool plastic crap with their name on it. I would recommend avoiding tables that are giving out items and really just focus on the places that are worth your time. Some things to prepare to experience. Some of the people there will be rude, and some will be so energetic that they get on your nerves. Okay, be prepared with rude and overly excited people. Some employers, you might attend a career fair to see one employer and they might not show up. They also might only attend AM or PM sessions. You might get offered an interview at a job fair, you might not. Some might say, I'm going to interview you now on the spot. Or some may say, hey, at 4 o'clock today, you're going to interview with me. Meet me at this location. That's not a guarantee, but it does happen. Let's see. Sometimes companies will show up, but they are only looking to fill business positions. And you might be somebody more interested in marketing or retail. Okay, so while an employer may be in attendance, they're not always going to be hiring for the field you are interested in. And then let's see, you're probably going to hear from a lot of people, just keep an eye on the website, just keep an eye on the website. And they want you to do just frequent checks to see if they have anything available. And then another thing that you want to be prepared to experience is what is called a hidden interview. Okay. Every moment in a job fair is an interview. From the moment that you first contact someone or the moment that you arrive. If it is an email or a submitted application, they are immediately looking at your text, your grammar, your tone, your politeness. They are looking at your list of previous employers if you submitted one, and they are looking up your social media presence. If it is an in-person environment that you are interviewing in or trying to interview in, they will put pretend people in the entire facility who walk around and all they do is observe people, and they take notes on who is polite, who is negative. And so sometimes you are not talking with students who are interviewing. You are talking to someone dressed like a student who is interviewing, who's actually from a company in attendance. So you always want to be aware that decoys can be present. Restrooms and waiting room areas are largely monitored for behavior. So you really want to be aware to not let your guard down just because you are not in front of a table speaking to someone. And then lastly, appearance, body language, and posture are always something that is being observed. So you want to practice that beforehand. Okay. Say that you are there and somebody offers you an on-the-spot interview. Okay. I have done a lot of interview prep with someone who that's their job because they're a great friend of mine. And so a lot of this information is stuff that I got from speaking with someone who interviews people all the time for a career. And so I said, okay, what do they need to prepare ahead of time? Okay, you want to review and practice answering common interview questions from your field. And in the resources section, I put a list of the 125 most common questions that get asked during interviews. You want to be prepared to identify past memorable work or life experiences that you could use to answer multiple question types, such as a project that you've developed, a time where you've given or received feedback, a positive or negative learning experience, a time where you overcame difficulty or an obstacle, or a time where you've experienced role ambiguity. These are really, really popular questions. I'm going to give you some examples of how you can take an event from your life and apply it to multiple of these at the same time. Then when they're asking you questions, it's really easy to ramble on and on and on and on and on and never really make a clear point. So my friend said that the interviewing strategy to answering questions for clarity and conciseness is when you're asked a question, answer it, and then give examples or elaborate on it. Okay. So say that somebody says, okay, explain a time where you received negative feedback. And you would say, okay, when I was working at blank, I received negative feedback. You would then quickly introduce or set up the scenario in 2 sentences or less. Then you say what happened and what you did as a response to that situation in 3 to 5 sentences, and then outline the result and how you would handle that situation in the future. So it's, this is what happened, this is what I did, and this is what I learned moving forward. And if you can answer every question with those 3 main points, you're going to really impress people because you are able to take all the details out and just give them the most important information that they need. And the example I'm going to talk about a student named Colton. I had a student named Colton, and Colton is one of the most complicated people in the world to try and explain. And I could go on and on and on because I taught this student for 3 years, and I could talk about everything that there is to know about Colton. But that is not going to be useful in an interview. Colton is a great example because working with him for 3 years, I got to experience a lot of things with him. I got to experience working with a difficult student, the importance of building relationships. I learned about modeling respect, professionalism, and appropriateness, which could also be a strength of mine that I talk about. I learned about investigating the root of a behavioral issue and not just responding to it. I learned about having empathy for people. I learned about creating multiple solutions to a recurring problem. I learned about evaluating an employee's performance growth over time. I learned about providing feedback and the importance of giving positive feedback. I learned about analyzing and interpreting data and observing and developing a plan before acting and reacting. That is a whole lot of stuff that I could use to describe my relationship with Colton. So if I got asked any question that had to do with any of those topics in Brownish Pink, I have an immediate answer to their question. I could do the same thing with some other experiences I've had. I could talk about all of my difficulties with a colleague named Katie. I could talk about issues with an assistant principal named Jennifer. And I could talk about a situation where a student in my class stopped breathing one time for an extended period of time and how I handled it. Each of those examples could apply to a bunch of situations. And as long as you can come up with 4 or 5 really good life stories that you can apply to multiple questions, you don't have to stress out about coming up with the right answer because you already can jump to those 5 examples that you've already pre-prepared ahead of time. And so that is how you can answer questions on the spot when you've had no time to practice. But the ultimate goal of any interview is to make you look good. So if at the end of answering the question, if you don't look good, you chose poorly. People should hear the story and go, oh, I want that person working for me. Oh, I want that person working for me. Sometimes that means if they ask you for a weakness, that you don't always tell them your biggest weakness. If showing up on time is your biggest weakness, do not say that to an employer. Okay, find a different one that still sounds good. Like, I am really organized, so sometimes I can get a little bit overwhelmed if an event is not very planned out in advance. Okay, one is much better of a negative thing to say than another. Let's see. Okay, so after your job fair, what do you do? Well, you might go on a lot of job fairs, and it's easy to forget all of that information. So the first thing I would do is make a Google Doc, put in the date of the event, all of the people and businesses that you met with, their names and contact information, if they give you business cards, and important details of conversations that you had, and your overall impression of the company. If you met with someone and you gave them your resume and then afterwards you were like, I don't want to work there, you want to write that down somewhere because you might not hear from them for another couple of weeks and you don't want to forget that. It's really important to write follow-up emails of anyone that you meet with one-on-one. So contact the employers, remind them of the event that you met them at, the date, and highlight the main points of the things you talked about. Let them know how much you appreciated meeting with them and hint at communicating in the future and continuing that relationship. And then, even though you may have already given them your resume and your materials, attach them again and remind them that they're there. So, in case they lost it, they have access to it and they'll look at it again. After you finish, don't just wait until the next job fair. Continue your search. Apply to open positions from companies that you connected with the job fair. Sign up for additional career fairs. And you can also attend interviewing workshops with UT's Texas Career Engagement, or your specific college almost always has their own career services department. So if you're in fine arts, you're going to get a lot of information in more depth about how to apply for jobs just in fine arts. It can be more specialized to you. And you can find information about resumes by college as well. Okay, resources. Texas Career Engagement at UT is massive. They have so much information about applying for jobs, preparing to go to job fairs. This is a great resource for you. And I did not pull a lot of resources from these websites so that you could actually use them to expand upon what we talked about here. I re-put the career fair calendar on there so that you can access it. I put the list of 125 common interview questions and tips. And then I put the link to the College of Natural Sciences virtual career fair tutorial and information that Alicia mentioned earlier that is great at describing a lot of the things that I talked about today and in more detail. Something that a lot of people don't consider, if you're struggling to find out what you're good at, use your relationships. Talk to colleagues, employers, talk to educators, friends. They all know who you are and what you're good at, and they can help you come up with the answers to some of these questions. Like, okay, Alicia is a colleague that I work with. Okay, and I could give a long list of what her strengths are as an employee. Okay, she is very attentive to detail. She's great at time management. She is very thoughtful in her responses. She is very respectful in her communications. She does a great job of breaking down really big concepts into small parts, to where if you're brand new to something, it doesn't feel overwhelming because she's talking over your head. She's kind and she's gentle. And those are things that I just threw out there off the top of my head right now. Sorry if I put you on the spot, because I didn't think about doing that until now, but I could come up with that list about her in 2 seconds. Okay, but Alicia, right now, can you tell me things you're good at outside of that list with no preparation?
Can I tell you things that I'm good at?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm really great at facilitating conversations. I think I'm great at, identifying resources for students and making sure that I'm fostering a good rapport with my students and getting to know them not only in an academic sense, but also in a personal sense.
Okay, so
I
I'm going to interrupt you because you were supposed to suck. She did well, which is another good thing about her. She overperforms and she exceeds expectations. Okay, but for most people, knowing what your strengths are might take a little while. So definitely reach out to people who know you and they can be of great help to you. But right now, that's pretty much all of my information on career fairs, what you need to prepare beforehand, what you need to expect the day of, what you need to make sure to do after the process is over, and then a lot of resources to help you out. But Right now, it's kind of an opportunity to open it up for questions, and I'm going to stop recording because I know not everybody likes to be on screen when they are asking questions.